Jerry's and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. Today we are doing a book tag. This is the rapid fire book tag. I kind of stumbled across it when I was browsing around YouTube. I'll link the channel where I originally saw this video. I don't know if this is the original, the creator of the tag, but it's where I saw it, so I'll link her down below. So let's just jump on into the questions. So question number one is, ebook or physical book? If you've been around my channel for a while, I think you know the answer to that is physical copy of the book, always and forever. I can appreciate the convenience of ebooks, being able to take, especially if you're traveling, being able to take a ton of books with you on an e-reader, but for me, I can't move away from physical books at this point. I don't like reading on a screen. And nothing beats being able to hold the book in your hand. Now, someday, will that change? Maybe. But it hasn't yet, and I don't foresee it changing anytime soon. Next question is paperback or hardback? And honestly, I'm going to say paperback, mainly because, I love the look and feel of a hardcover book. Love it. But I do most of my reading in bed. So I like that paperbacks are usually lighter and easier to hold when you're laying in bed about to fall asleep. Next question, online or in-store book shopping? I love going into a bookstore. Nothing beats it. When we lived in a big city, right now I live in a small town, but when we lived in a big city in Ontario, I used to love going into the bookstore. I'd go multiple times a week just to browse, walk through, pick up books, look at them. We also had a really beautiful used bookstore in that town, and it was called Juniper Books. And what it was a house that had been converted into a bookstore. So the way he had it laid out was, in the room that was the kitchen, he kind of kept it looking like a kitchen, and in there was where he stored all the cookbooks. And he had a room upstairs that looked kind of like a bedroom, and there'd be sci-fi books in there. And then in another room he had, romance novels and chick lit. And then in another room he'd have all the spirituality books. I just loved the way that he had the whole house laid out. And I loved talking to him and the passion that he had for this job that he did. And I miss getting to go there so much. And he was so great in that, say if I was in one day and I was asking about a particular book, because it was a used/rare books bookstore. So say I was in asking about a particular book and he didn't have it, and then say a week or 2 or 3 later I went back in and he'd found a copy, he would remember. He would have had it put aside and he'd be like, hey, this book you were asking about, we've got it now. Just the paying attention like that and the memory, and I loved it. I miss it so much. So in-store would be preferable, but where I live now, it's hard to get into a bookstore, so unfortunately I have to rely online quite a bit. Next up, trilogies or series? I would say probably trilogies. No, the majority of the books I read are standalone books, but if I had to pick, I'd say trilogy. I don't like it when series go on for too long, because I want to get to the end. I want to find out what happens, and that's why I tend to be drawn more to standalone books. Heroes or villains? I mean, we all love a good hero, right? But there's just something about a good villain too. So fun to read. And yeah, so I mean both, but villain. A book you want everyone to read. A book that I always recommend whenever anybody asks for a book recommendation is called All My Puny Sorrows by Miriam Toews. It's so good. It's a story that will stay with you, as you can tell, because I've talked about this many times over many years on this channel. And it's such a good, heartbreaking story. I love it. My second recommendation that I know I've also talked about plenty of times on this channel is The Best Kind of People by Zoe Whittall. Again, it's one of those books that just the final sentence of The Best Kind of People kicked me so hard in the feelings that once it was over, I sat and I had a good cry for a good couple of minutes. It will just, you'll never forget it. And they're both Canadian writers, so love that. Next up, recommend an underrated book. Now, I don't really know what's underrated and what isn't. I don't really keep up with like mass opinions like that. But a writer to me that is so good that I don't really hear as much about as I should is Joe Hill. If you love scary books, if you love good short stories that are scary, definitely check out Joe Hill. He's so good. And yeah, I just feel like I don't hear enough about him for how good he is. Now, of course, he's still relatively new, so I'm sure down the line, but as of right now, yeah, he's so good. Last book you finished. The last book I finished was If Only by Melanie Murphy, which I loved. Put a book talk up on that last Friday. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely do. And then next is the last book you bought, and that is The Courage to Be Happy, which I'll be doing a book talk on soon. Weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark? Now, most generally, if I don't have a bookmark, I'll just dog ear the page. I know. Don't come for me. And now I'm very lucky as well in that I've had a few of you guys send me some gorgeous bookmarks. Kim V sent me one that I use all the time. Rosie sent me one in my Christmas card this year. So I just love them both, and I'll usually use them both at the same time. But the weirdest thing, I don't know, if I need a bookmark, I'll use anything, whatever I can reach, a pen, a comb, whatever. Used books, yes or no? Yeah, of course used books. I love used books. I love a book that looks well loved, battered, beaten. I love it. An old book, I love it. As you know from when I was just going on and on about the used and rare bookstore in Windsor. Yes, always yes. And I feel like when I come in possession of a used book, especially one that's old and worn, I feel like you're safe now. You get to join. Weird, I know. Like, it's okay. You get to join the bookshelves, and you'll be safe and you'll be loved, and I just love them so much. Top 3 favorite genres. Number 1, literary fiction is my top favorite genre. Of course, see, I'm taking a lot out of the mix here because literary does cover, you can have many different genres under the literary fiction umbrella, because there's kind of literary fiction and then there's commercial fiction. And literary being kind of a bit more highbrow, whereas commercial has a bit more mass appeal. I love both, but literary fiction first, perhaps. So maybe I won't use that genre. So I'll say horror, suburban dysfunction, and thrillers / mysteries. Okay, let's see what's next. Next question is borrow or buy. Buy. I mean, I borrow as well, but I love to buy books. It's like my one big weakness, you know? And just because I love to keep them, and I love to look at them and touch them and reread them, so buy. Characters or plot? Characters, most generally. Now, if it's like a thriller, then plot, but characters. I love character-driven stories. If I don't care about the people, I don't really care about the plot, you know? Long or short books? I don't really have a preference. I like them to be long enough. You know, you don't want to be too long. Stephen King sometimes goes a little too long, but most generally I don't care. And then next is long or short chapters. I care here. Short chapters, I greatly prefer short chapters. Long chapters, especially if you're someone who likes to get a bit of reading in here and there, you know, you're like, oh, I got 10 minutes. Let's go have a little read. I like to be able to come to the end of a chapter. And so if they're short chapters, I can get a couple chapters in that 10 minutes. But it drives me nuts if like my 10 minutes has come and I'm still like 15 pages away from the end of the chapter. So short chapters. Name the first 3 books you think of. Okay, The Shining by Stephen King, If Only by Melanie Murphy, and The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Books that make you laugh or cry. Oh, so many. So many books make me both laugh and cry. For laughs, Stuart McLean. You guys know how much I love Stuart McLean. Any of his Vinyl Cafe books, of which there are many. There's like 12 or 13 of them. Every single one would check both of those. Laugh and cry off. He can really get you in the emotions, and I love that. And sometimes you go from laughing to crying on the same page. It's so good. Our world or fictional worlds? Our world, most generally. I don't tend to read a lot of like sci-fi or things that take place in other worlds. Not that I wouldn't. Like, when I think of other worlds, I kind of think of Harry Potter. You know? I love that. But most generally, our world. Audiobooks. Yes or no? Well, I don't personally listen to them. Only because I feel like if I had a long commute, say to work, then I would probably listen to them while driving. But I don't have a long commute. So no, but love them. Any way that people can consume books and stories, I am all for it. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? I try not to, but I will say it's more likely to go the way that I would buy a book that maybe I normally wouldn't because I love the cover, than me not buying a book that I want to read because of the cover, if that makes sense. Like I've bought books where I'm just like, oh, this cover is gorgeous. And most generally I've liked those books. But yeah, I try not to be too swayed by a cover. Although I will admit to being guilty a little bit sometimes of letting the cover sort of give me an idea as to what the book was going to be. And then when I finish the book, realizing that it's not that at all. So, but I really try not to. Book to movie or book to TV adaptations? Do you mean pick one? I don't know if the question means pick one or do I like them. If I had to pick one, TV, I guess. I love Outlander. Loved Game of Thrones. Loved True Blood, even though the books and the show are very different. Dexter. There's been a ton of great TV adaptations. And I feel like you really need sometimes a TV show to get the whole story across, especially if it's a book series. But there's been some great book to movie adaptations as well. So, yes. A movie or TV show you preferred to its book? I'm gonna say Little Big Lies. Is that what it is? Is it Little Big Lies or is it Big Little Lies? I think it's Little Big Lies. Hang on. It's Big Little Lies. I read the book and I watched the show and I really, really loved the show. Now, I don't know if I would say I preferred it, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, that I loved just as much the TV show as the book. It was great. Loved it. And the final question is series or standalones, which I kind of touched on earlier in this tag, but standalones. I like for the story to be done right away. I don't like having to wait a year or two for the next installment of the story, which if you're a Game of Thrones fan, the books, I mean, we've been waiting forever for the next book in the series. So I like a standalone story. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're a book lover and you would like to do this tag as well. Like I said, I'm going to link the video that I saw with this tag in it in the description box down below, and there she's got all the questions listed, so you can go check out her answers and grab the questions. And if you do this tag, definitely let me know. I would love to hear your answers. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you on Monday with another vlog. Bye guys.